Dobrodošli in dobrodošli in dober večer. Torej, organizirali smo dogodek z naslovom Stol v javnem prostoru, oziroma Ljubljanska klop, dogodek v tudi soorganizaciji Pritličja, za kar se jim seveda iskreno zahvaljujem. Skratka, da so tudi prepoznali to temo kot temo, ki je zanimiva. Ta dogodek organiziramo v okviru enega večjega projekta, v katerega smo bili vključeni kot Univerza v Ljubljani, Filozofska fakulteta, oddelek za umetnostno zgodovino. Projekt, ki je, kot vidite napisano, skratka Erasmus strateški projekt, ki se pravzaprav ukvarja z izboljšavo, kurikuluma v visokošolstvu. Tako da je to neki ključen cilj tega projekta. Ta projekt je sicer, podprt s strani danske nacionalne agencije, zaradi tega, ker je glavni partner Univerza v Aalborgu na Danskem, poleg tega pa univerze, kot je Univerza v Ljubljani, Univerza v Aveyru na Portugalskem, Univerza v Ovedu v Španiji in potem še dva zelo zanimiva partnerja. Eno je danski oblikovalec stolov, Hans Stue, in drugi partner je Amat, društvo, ki se ukvarja, predvsem s področjem gledališča, plesa in glasbe. Ta projekt ima pravzaprav za eno glavno temo kulturno dediščino oziroma še več, oziroma še bolj specifično ukvarjamo se predvsem, s temo stola. Skratka, stol je seveda ena taka izredno bogata, izredno zanimiva tema. Stol kot tak seveda ni samo osnovni element pohištva, pohištvene opreme, ampak, tudi, seveda neki objekt, prek katerega lahko spremljamo družbo, njene spremembe. Skratka, en objekt, ki je v bistvu s človekom najbolj neposredno povezan, najbolj oseben od vse opreme, prek katerega seveda lahko spremljamo, demokratizacijo družbe, lahko spremljamo, kako se, po zahodni, vzhodni svet, skratka najrazličnejše teme seveda odpira. In mi se ga tudi lotevamo na takšen način z najrazličnejšimi, vidiki. Skratka, poanta krafta je seveda, da delamo na izboljšavi kurikuluma, na dveh bazah, na, interdisciplinarnosti in internacionalnosti. In v sklopu seveda tega projekta smo razmišljali, kako na eni strani javnosti predstaviti, kaj delamo, in na drugi strani seveda predstaviti tudi, neko temo, ki je lokalno zanimiva. In zato smo prišli nekako do teme klopi, oziroma stola v javnem prostoru. Prav to se nam je zdela taka zanimiva stvar, skratka, da stol ni nujno nekaj, kar je neki, oblikovalski, unikaten, ekskluzivni izdelek, ki ga lahko spremljamo za štirimi stenami enega zelo intimnega, ambienta, ampak je lahko tudi to nekaj, kar je postavljeno v javni prostor, kar je namenjeno seveda vsem nam in, kar, seveda združuje to najbolj privatno, najbolj intimno stvar, kot je stol, z najbolj odprtim javnim prostorom. In ob tem naprej smo razmišljali, kaj je ena taka tema, ki bi zanimala tudi Ljubljančane in Ljubljančanke, in prav te nove klopi, ki se v zadnjem času postopoma pravzaprav vključujejo v naš javni prostor, so seveda neka stvar, ki se nam je zdela zanimiva, stvar, ki se nam je zdelo zanimivo jo izpostaviti, povedati nekaj več o tem. Tako da in sledeč temu smo tudi nekako organizirali ta današnji dogodek, da začnemo z nekim ogrevanjem, z razmišljanjem o temi sedenja v javnem prostoru, z enimi kratkimi refleksijami partnerjev iz projekta, in potem nadaljujemo v to glavno predavanje, predstavitev avtorske skupine, ki je leta 2010 zmagala na natečaju, ki je organizirala Mestna občina Ljubljana in Društvo oblikovalcev Slovenije. Torej skupina, ki je, dobila zmagovalno oziroma prvo nagrado za zmagovalno rešitev, ki je od takrat naprej, ki se od takrat naprej vključuje v javni prostor. Tako da jaz mislim, da najboljše, da jaz počasi predam besedo vsem ostalim, glede na to, da imamo seveda tudi goste med nami, bo dogodek potekal v dveh jezikih, v slovenščini in angleščini. Skratka, zelo tako organsko bomo prehajali iz enega v drug jezik, in zato tudi preklapljam v angleški jezik. So I'm switching now in English, because also our guests, representatives of partner institutions in the project are present. And I would like firstly to invite project leader of the project Craft, Anna-Marie Fisker, a professor from University of Aalborg, to tell a little some words about the project.
Hallo. Goddag. Jeg fortsætter så på dansk. No. I'll try my very best in English. I hope you forgive, but my Slovenian is not good enough yet. I'm happy to see also young people here because the project that we are doing is of course for the next generation, not just for us, but very importantly that cultural heritage is something that we have to value, something that we have to continue one way or another. And to do so, you need a bit of humor. You need also rather much fun because it can be a bit dusty. But beneath all this dust, there's a lot of experience and there's a lot of value. And this is what we try in the project to show coming generations the value of cultural heritage. And that's why we have chosen the chair, because the chair is something all of us use up till many times a day. So we try to drag the chair into the scene, do something with it nobody has expected. So please follow us on the website because dangerous dragons and things like that will show up during the years we are working. We are very grateful to be in your country. For me, Slovenia is a very special place with very special people. And the town we are in here is so filled with cultural heritage. It's loaded with cultural heritage, so we could study here forever, but we have to leave soon. But we are very grateful to be here. Also, that you are here tonight, and that this place with Barbara and Nina is hosting us. This is a new experience for us. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And thank you for the municipality. Thank you to you, Carol, for showing up. This is also something we are very happy for. Thank you. And then I mentioned the next generation, so I said hello to Katja and to Dennis, and I know that you were not alone doing all these works. So beside you was Mocha, and there was Sergey. It was all wrong. Nearly pronounced. They recognized, yeah, yeah. And then also an official warm thanks for my partners because most of them are here. Rebecca, and you have done, Martina, so great a work to welcome us, to plan everything, and we are loaded with experience when we travel home. To Fatima from Portugal for traveling here. We have Ana Maria in Spain that could not come, but she's in our mind, and Hans Tue from Denmark. And since we take the work we are doing in the academic world very seriously, we have also partners from real life. This is very important for us. So we have from Amat in Italy, Daniela, we could not survive without her, and Hans Tue that had to stay home in Denmark, but they represent the professional way into cultural heritage, where we others are perhaps in theory most of the time. Yeah. And to my assistants, Nina and Anna Eva that is also always doing a good job. And from the University of Aalborg, also Elias, that is a true researcher. So, thank you very much. I cannot say it in other words. Thank you.
So for warming up, we have two special experts for the beginning who are going to share with us their short reflections, their short thoughts about what it means to sit in the public space. The first one is already mentioned, Fátima Pombo, professor from University of Aveiro from Portugal, and her research focuses on different different intersections between design, phenomenology, aesthetics, architecture. So, Fatima, please.
Hello to everybody. Um, so funny and interesting at the same time that we are here since Sunday evening, and I can already say that I recognize faces. So we met already with the students, we met already with the director of the Museum of Architecture. So so a representative from this institution that we will visit tomorrow. Fantastic. So what will happen if I would stay longer in Ljubljana? And of course, I will not go longer by thanking the warm welcoming that we all felt in your town, and particularly with our now already friends Martina and Rebecca. So, what I will tell you is in effect nothing extraordinary. What was asked, it was just to think about a bench and to put it in a certain context. So, and to do this in 5-10 minutes, because let's say the focus is then on the let's say the colleagues from Ljubljana that will speak later. And I thought, well, so important landscape. It was always important, and it nowadays it's uh, an absolute must that we need to face. And from the design point of view, from architectural point of view, it's indeed um, a focus, a topic that we cannot skip. So, in effect, I put it like a landscape for a bench, because there are so many sceneries in landscape. You can have parks, you can have the sea, you can have the river, you can have the mountains, etc. And I combined two approaches in a very, very, let's say, quick way, which is the projects of benches that were deliberately designed for a certain environment, and then just finally, let's say, casual benches. And in what sense both are finally so important. So here you see it's a very interesting project. You can go further on it if you want. So it's from 2018. You see, from Seoul, Ju Lee. So, and from his atelier, architectural atelier. And what you see is there this kind of bench that could be also a kind of flower plant. He named it a root to um, to attract people for different, let's say, interface, interaction, being alone or being with other friends, whatever, and also feeling the different, um, mm, the feeling the bench in different ways. So you can go up on that, you can go down, and moreover, also it brings to the park an aesthetical, let's say, perception and feeling. So here is interesting. Here it exists. It exists. It exists. Um, this opportunity to tell bench stories and even to upload it in a website. So, there are different benches, but also only focusing on this particular bench, because it has also this, um, let's say, this effect of locating the need a notebook and a pen in order to really invite and stimulate the immediate writing of the feeling of being there, whatever is the, let's say, the situation, to relax, to contemplate, to think, to write, to listen to music, etc. So this idea that in a public space you can go through a personal story while sitting on a bench. And here the, let's say, simple, casual, made of wood and of stone benches that we can find while doing a walk, while hiking, while just enjoying nature in its different forms, or even there in a garden, the first one on the left, in a park. So, but here very much, let's say, artificial, in the sense that it was designed, and the others are more wild, more natural. So finally, you need just a piece of wood to sit, and maybe to have the back uh, to relax a bit. So it was the parks, or it was the so parks, gardens, and you have also this fascinating um, invitation from the mountains. And the mountains can be also inspiring to designers, to architects. And so in this project, Elodie Stefan designed this bench in consonance with the landscape. So a kind of mirroring through technology and through artificiality to mirror the mountains and the forms of the mountains. In this case, so the inspiration from the Dolomites in Italy. Um, in the same landscape, you can find again the anonymous benches, being hit of just wood that shows the passage of time, like you have down with the natural wood, or you can paint them in a color, and almost making an intervention in the landscape. It's a bench, kind of sculpture, that pops up through this green and this blue when it's nice weather, or you can have them look with snow, just really as a seat, in this case full of with whiteness, and even, let's say, displaying this kind of rhythm, kind of musicality. A simple bench. here again a project. So the hand of the designer or the architect, in this case, very, very interesting how you make this bench in a row, a kind of necklace, because you have the sea, it's a beach in UK, long beach, and just you decided to design a long necklace, which is also a bench without any interruption, and from that everything can happen in the sense that you can be there alone in this long necklace. 300 etc. people can see it. You can observe the sea, you can feel the wind, etc. So another way of, again, with a simple idea to connect landscape and a bench. So, for example, here there's a continuity, as I told you, with the bench, and even in a certain moment they have these, let's say, spots as playful places for children. So, kind of a bench in a loop. And again, on the other side, you have this type of benches to feel, to enjoy the sea, even to swing while contemplating the water, or as you can see there, just together with friends, and also watch, enjoy again the waves. And the last one from the right beneath a bench, it also in a way is a metaphor of time, because you look at it, how long is already there this bench. What would it say if it could tell the stories? So this long relationship between people, landscape, and a bench. This, by the way, I didn't mention here, but for example, so a country with such a huge waterfront like New Zealand, they have lots of benches in any spot they can. Benches so simple, like you see now, they are from this, let's say, collection, because they absolutely need a place to sit and to contemplate the water and to contemplate the landscape, or for whatever sensation or situation. But so simple, simple designed benches. So what makes the difference is in effect the relation between the spot and the individual. And so also to finish, because it was asked me to be also short, I picked up this bench because again it's a kind of summary of what a bench can also be in individual anonymous stories. So if in the beginning I showed you a bench that tells stories, here you incrustated a sign of your passage from this place. So as you can see, and as we also, or we can do in trees. Trees is another fantastic topic to talk about, but not today, or not here. So the bench also, when you can engrave memory, you can engrave a sign of your passage in that place. So, and with that, I just wanted to share a few ideas about this superb opportunity that a bench can give to all of us while in relation with the landscape. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another guest, another lecturer is coming from different country, from different discipline. Elias Melvin Christiansen is an architect, and he's a PhD student currently at University of Aalborg, studying mostly the relationship between architecture and the city.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, like Martina said, my name is Elias, and I'm an architect from Denmark and currently a PhD student. Today I'm going to talk to you about a specific bench. I'm Danish, so I thought I would bring you one of my heroes, the Danish architect Jørgen Utzon, and his design for the Utzep furniture system. I think this bench is interesting in many ways, but by looking at it, I think we can get a glimpse into how Jørgen Utzon saw public spaces and the role of benches in public spaces. Jørgen Utzon is of course most famous for his iconic design for the Opera House in Sydney in Australia, but what not all people know is that he was actually fired from the project before it was finished. So today the current interior is not made from his design, and the Utzep furniture bench system was actually envisioned for this space, so it is not realized in the form that he thought of originally. So to understand his ideas, we have to study the drawings that he made. Yes, and the bench was on the first picture, but this is a section drawing of how he saw the bench. And from looking at it, we can see that he really thought of the human body when he was designing it. It is split in three parts. The lower part is the seat where you need to sit on. The middle part is the back support, and the tall highest one is support for your neck when sitting there. It could also be used as an armrest, like the picture in the beginning showed, for shorter stays or for facilitating a conversation between the one sitting and the one standing behind. The dotted lines here in the section also indicate where you would actually touch the furniture. So I look at this, I can see the body. I can see Utzon's ideas of the body in the bench. He made several iterations over these sections to support different ways of sitting. He made a version where he extended the lower part, so now it has the appearance more of a chaiselong, where you can sit with your feet up, more relaxed. He also made a version where he extended the middle part, so now you could actually sit on the different levels in the middle and in the bottom still. Each of these sections he developed in three different versions, one in a straight, and one in a concave and one in a convex. And by placing them next to each other, he was actually able to make these very complex benches. This is an additive principle that Jørgen Utzon is very famous for, also have been working in some of his houses and even on a city scale. By different ways of assembling these sections and the versions of the section, he could create these very complex benches that actually facilitated many different social situations. In these drawings, this is the plan drawings of some of the benches, you can sit alone, you can sit in pairs with your closest friends, or you can sit in groups and have conversations across. So he made the system able to appeal to a large variation of social situation. as I said, he never realized it for the opera house. So we only have drawings like this to understand how he thought they could furnish an entire room. But here we can see ideas of how they can be grouped together. There could be some link between the different benches, but also in relationship to the outside, and especially the section in the top of the drawing of the picture shows this as a kind of seating landscape, which I think is quite interesting. Unfortunately, he never realized it in the opera house, as I said, but in Aalborg, in the city where I work, and also the city where Utzon himself was raised, in 2008 they built this building to the right, which is a museum for his legacy. And in 2011 they created the park next to it, known as the Utzon Park. And in this park they placed 5 redesigned version of his benches. And looking at the space from up here, it's very obvious that they're scattered around the park, but they're placed next to the path going from the city down to the harbor front, so you can sit on them if you need a small break when you're out in the city. But I also think there's an interesting relationship between them in the ways they are angled toward each other. So there's kind of a dialogue, but they also kind of facilitate this space in between them, this green space. It's a simplified version of the design, and they only used the first section drawing that I showed you. But we can still see here that they have made them in versions where they can support bigger groups and smaller groups for more intimate situations. What I think that is very interesting in this is that we can go from the individual what you need for as an individual to sit. He was very concerned that you sit properly. But then from small gestures in the design, he was able to also make a vast variation of social situation and appeal to the public space. So I think it's a furniture system that appeal to the social complexity which we have in the city, and thus I find it very interesting. Thank you.
And what is the situation in Ljubljana? So where and how could we sit? I'm just going through a really short walk through the common benches in the city, just as a visual remark. My source is, of course, catalog of urban furniture made by municipality of Ljubljana, which is also accessible on their website. So there are different types of benches. The first one, the most common one, called Baroque. The next one, which is only a modified version of it by the group Prostoru, group of young architects, where they were thinking about the chair again and the sitting place, so how to enable someone who would like to sit alone and read there and stop there and calm there. So there was their idea. Another one is Plečnik's bench, the one that we could find near majority of Plečnik's projects in the city. In Park Tivoli. Then there was this really simple bench that we used to see and use at the path of comradeship and memory, and the variation for the back, and also more recent ones by Asobi Studio. And there are also, of course, the benches. They are included in the more in the project by architects designing special places in the city, as Novi Trg in Ljubljana by Vozlič architects, or nearby Ljubljanica. And again near Ljubljanica. And today we are here for this bench. So the bench that is part of the commission in 2010, so commissioned by Municipality of Ljubljana and Association of Designers of Slovenia, bench who was awarded with the first award, and since then being realized and being, of course, also being included in the city, in the public space of the city of Ljubljana. At that point, I would like to invite Karel Polak, as a representative, of course, of municipality, who was the commissioner of the project, and on the other side, of course, also member of the commissioners' jury. So, Karel, please.
So good evening to all of you. So I don't know now because I was asked to have a short speech in Slovenian language, and I don't know now. So anyway, the vice mayor, Professor Koželj, excused himself because he's today in Graz in Austria, and he couldn't come. So I was asked by his from his office to welcome you here warmly. The weather is not so warm, so it's not so warm welcome. Perhaps I'm going now, what do you suggest, to read it in Slovene or to translate it? So very shortly, in last 15 or 20 years, Ljubljana really changed its image, so many public surfaces were transformed after changing the infrastructure below, so the tubes and the wires. We got new pavements and we transformed these surfaces also for the use of disabled people, blind and so invalids or blinds, and also equipped with the new street furniture. Today is very popular to talk about Jane Jacobs walks around, and here I wanted to mention this because when we have this, when we walk and we move, then we need also places to rest, to stop, and this is then that we need benches or seats where we can rest, when we can look around, observe, read, to make new contacts with the people nearby, or to kiss each other or whatever. And of course, these elements of the street furniture should be a part of a larger system and should be also, by its shape, adapted to the architectural and ambiential values or qualities of the single city spaces. Before the competition in 2010 for the new bench, for Ljubljanska klop, for the Ljubljana bench, we tried to improve the catalog what Martina showed, and I would like to correct these small single chairs were developed only for one event in Ljubljana for the City of Literature. It was this, if you show them back, this with funny colors, no, still more. This one, no, this one. These chairs were developed from the previous one, from this one, because this was standard, large, and then they wanted, because it was a city of literature, they wanted to develop that to enable the users, to be alone, to read books. So this was the story of these benches. But you can see them somewhere still in the city. So with this competition, we tried to fulfill the catalog of street furniture. If you go back on the catalog, because we have some benches which are very good in design, but we had also on the suburbs of the city a bunch of benches which were not good enough for us, and this was the reason that we wanted to develop new elements of the catalog, so a new bench for particular use in the around Poti, spominov in tovarištva. You know, this is a ring around Ljubljana, about 32 kilometers long, which was in the Second World War by Italians. They made a fence there, wire fence, and because they didn't want the local people from Ljubljana to have contacts with the partisan movements around Ljubljana. And so Ljubljana lived from 41 to 43 or to the end of the war in the wires, like we have now on the southern border. So it was idea to develop a new bench to use it on this landscape or arrangement around Ljubljana, and also to get a new element for the new parts of Ljubljana, then for playgrounds, for sport surfaces, and so on. So the criteria on this competition were modularity, then compatibility with the existing street furniture in the shape, color, and materials, then simplicity of construction, then quality of materials, then vandal-proof criteria, then functionality about cleaning, then fixing on the surfaces, and for the different use of these benches. And also, I must mention here at the end that we didn't want to have something very modern, something very expressive, so it was criteria also of neutrality and sustainability of the shape. No? I don't know the English expressions here. And we got 32, so there were 32 participants on this competition, and we choose the solution of Katja Saje, Denis Rovan, Mojca Rupnik, and Sergej Hiti, and they are going now to present their bench. Sorry for my English. I'm not used to this.
Dober večer. So good evening to everyone. First I would like to thank Craft Cultural Heritage Organization or Project to have us here, to invite us. Special thanks to Martina to invite us and to encourage us to make this lecture. And thanks to Mr. Polak to make this introduction into the lecture. First, when Martina asked us to make it, we asked her how long should it be, and she said about 45 minutes. And said, okay, then we'll be bilingual to make it to make it a bit longer. But I think that nobody would complain if we'll do it in English all the way through. So we'll start with the introduction of the team which has, let's say, designed, developed, and implemented this bench in Ljubljana. So in the picture there, you see it's pretty old project, because we look pretty much younger than we are now. Sergej Hiti in the front, then me, Denis Rovan, Katja Saje, and Mojca Rupnik sitting on the bench. This was one of the prototypes that we work on during the development of the project. As Mr. Polak explained in the introduction, the municipality of Ljubljana was searching for coherent family of elements for resting in the public space, I would say, that would unify or would well fit in the variety of urban furniture in Ljubljana, and would kind of unify also the visual aspect of the public areas in the city of Ljubljana. So we will have three topics, let's say so. First will be like the introduction of the context, like the starting points with which we started this project. We won in the competition in 2010, and then we'll explain the development of the project, and in the end we'll introduce all the family, we call it the family of the elements of the Ljubljana bench. So Katja, the word is yours.
Thank you. Hello. Oh, it's working. Yes, thank you, Martina, again, and greetings to you all. Let's first start with a short preview of the historical context. I guess spending a few days in Ljubljana, you learned a lot of Vampličnik. He's everywhere. And also for us, he was an important part of developing the urban space in Ljubljana. Actually, he was the first one who really put his effort into transforming Ljubljana from a provincial city to a capital, and also through public space, not only through important big buildings. For his designs, he made a lot of different street lamps, and also a particular street bench that he used all over his project. It's a fairly simple bench, but very significant. It has this concrete base and wooden planks as seats and backrest. And this idea that he established has been following the development of street furniture throughout the following years. The majority of the street benches that followed were designed in a way that they had this concrete base and wooden planks to sit on. So here we will show you a couple from the modernist era. So as Ljubljana developed into a bigger city with also a lot of housing neighborhoods, they started using these fairly simple benches around the city. As you can see here, the little one in front, and even a simpler version that went along. Then this one. The spatial context that was assigned to us in the competition was a lot of different places with different characteristics that this new bench could all fit in and visually be coherent in all. So here we have urban pedestrian areas of all sorts, and open surroundings around public buildings, children's playgrounds, different sports areas, and different city parks. And of course the housing neighborhoods all over the city. As Mr. Pollack said, the most important place or space that the bench would be put in was this path of remembrance and comradeship that spans all around Ljubljana. Here you see the red path that surrounds the city. So we really thought about the bench to be as a simple element, but visually strong, but not something that would preglasiti? Dominate, yes, that would dominate the space that would be put in. Thank you. The last, this one is, the last part of this starting point was the social context. In the past, Ljubljana was quite vulnerable to vandalism and damages and thefts, including the benches and all the street furniture included. In the last 15 years that Ljubljana developed, also the vandalism became less apparent. I guess the inhabitants are taking much better care of their city than they used to. So in the past, it was quite often that you could see these solo concrete bases sticking out of the ground without the wooden parts, and just sad reminders of the benches that were missing around the city. So this is how it used to be. With all these starting points, and also the majority of different street furniture that was also present and that was coming to Ljubljana, we envisioned a system that would connect this diversity and unify public spaces that would be coherent with the existing street furniture, and that could function in any form and in any situation. So this was for us the 4 starting points: that it would be set in public space. We wanted to keep the continuity and design tradition and the use of the existing materials. We wanted to solve these vandalism problems with our bench. And with the new designs of the open spaces, there was also a wish for different ways of sitting, not only a bench for 2 or 3 people, but chairs for solo seating, and also larger platforms for more people together to spend more time outside, to use the space in different ways. And then there was the competition. Dennis, now you can continue.
Like the concept starting points were pretty clear. First was that it has to be a part of the public space. It has to continue the tradition of Ljubljana's previous benches, and as Katja emphasized, it should kind of solve problems that some urban furniture already had in Ljubljana. And least but not last, it has to offer the wider family, like the wider or more extensed elements for resting in public space, not like just a single bench, but it has to be, as we will see in the continue, a little bit wider. So we started with the main thing that we designed was actually the base. It was the L-shaped base. I can say L as Ljubljana, but not this wasn't the starting point. But the L-shaped base was something that we started from because, as you already have seen, all the benches, or at least those that came from the archetypic bench of Plečnik, had a concrete base and a wooden seat. And this was like a starting point for us because we wanted to unify, at least in material and in these design principles. So we started with a kind of a unique base, which is in the planar view square, and it was dematerialized with forming this L shape. A little bit more about shape later. The main thing was that the modularity of it, that it would fit the same element more, the same base, of course. It would kind of host or fit more elements of the, like a stool in this case, or a double bench, or a platform, or an extended bench, and so on and so on. One aspect that was really interesting was that even if you remove the wooden seat of the bench, you can still use it as a sitting device. Of course, a little bit colder in the winter, but anyway, as we saw, the lone elements in the urban space, which are not nice to be seen without the wooden element, would still be useful as a sitting device, as in this case. So if we continue, this shape was not totally random. Of course, this was not like the designer's inspiration. We're actually not designers. All four of us are landscape architects, and two of us are architects. We started with shaping it with the ergonomics. So the basic ergonomic principles are these ankles that are formed between a back and the top of the leg, and the behind the knee, and so on. These ankles, if we simplify them, it's about 100 degrees, so you don't sit really rectangular. It doesn't form the right ankle behind your knee. So with this ankle, we shaped inwards inclined surface, which kind of gave us this dynamic design or shape of it, and of course to make it a little bit more lighter, but still statically proof and vandal proof, let's say. So we put it in this L shape to put a little bit material off and to make it a little bit more dynamic. And most of all, when you see it from different angles, it becomes a little bit different, so it's not the same from all the sides. So if we continue, as I explained, the basic element was this L-shaped base, and then this utilitarian element of the seat and the backrest followed, connected with the framework. It's steel, painted steel, galvanized subconstruction of the bench. Really easy to assemble, pretty easy to produce, and as we will see in continue, made of these materials which are present in Ljubljana, like terrazzo, artificial stone, which you can see all around Ljubljana, especially in the Plečnik's urban designs, and wooden seat made of the large wood. All the materials locally present. So then from this we started the project, of course, in 2010, and then developed it through the prototypes and the series till 2013, when it was first implemented in the public space. But these are some images of, let's say, development we in the with the local craftsmen and so on. Those basic parts that I explained earlier were that was really important for us, that local companies or local craftsmen were able to work on it, are able to produce it, and are able to install it. And of course, we were involved also in this process the whole time. All these elements are pretty easy, as you see, to adapt. In the meantime of the development of the prototypes and so on, there was not as much, let's say, rearrangements or redesigning, just simple modifications on the ergonomics of the wooden seat and some guidelines how to install it, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, this is let's say the development phase that was over in 2013, because we have to explain that in 2010 the first prototypes were made. 2011 was the test installation in Špica Park, so where we kind of were checking how it is working in the public space. And then in 2013, first 200 elements were installed in now you know Poti, spominov and tovarištva, so the path of remembrance around Ljubljana. Yeah. Yeah, I can explain also the family. The range, yeah, the wide range. So you you also already seen what's the basic elements. They're forming stool with a backrest, and then this is like an installation in Njegošov Park. Really simple elements, and bench with this is like a typical bench without a backrest, installed primarily in the Poti, spominov. So you can see also you can shift this basis in different directions. You can turn it around 90 degrees, and it forms a little bit different designs every time. So inwards, outwards. And really important is that if you remove the wooden part, you can replace it either with the simple seat or two different seats for the stool, or a seat with the armrest, and so on. So this was installation for the test series. You can see the material aging pretty well. We were kind of thinking of 10 years for the wooden parts. And it's now approaching 10 years, and they're still in pretty good shape. In the later development, also these tables were developed and installed around Ljubljana. And of course, these platforms, because it was really important for us not to make just an element for the sitting. It has to be like an element for the resting in public space. You can see here in the summertime, a lot of people like lying on it, enjoying sitting like in different ways, and this is something that's it's possible with this bench. Another important aspect is that this is actually not our design. The element, of course, is, but architects which are working on specific urban designs around Ljubljana are using this bench, rearranging it a little bit. They're inserting it into their distinguished designs, particular designs, and of course this is something that allows the freedom of expression in a way within the system, of course, and of course allows future development of this element. So as I said, there are up until now in Ljubljana, if you continue, of around 500 benches are already been installed, or I would say 500 elements, not the benches, because the bench is just one of the elements. So we made this interactive map of these benches where are installed in Ljubljana. You can really see that majority of them, which are represented with green spots, are installed around this ring of Pot, of the remembrance. So every bench are geolocated, and of course a short description of it is added. So if you just continue to another one, yeah. So if you click on a particular sign, you can see where is it installed and how it looks. So if you're still at home, you can find your way to use a bench already, or from the app on the cell phone. Yeah. So that was like, as I said, because we didn't do it bilingually, really direct and short presentation of the bench. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and of course invite you, if you want to ask any questions, we're more than glad to answer them. Thank you.
Bom kar po slovensko vprašala, lahko pa po angleško odgovorite, da bojo vsi razumeli, kako se pritrjuje, kako izgleda konstrukcija noter v zemlji oziroma temelji.
Yeah, so the question was, what's the construction inside the soil, so underground construction of it, because of course I guess the question was because of the cantilevered shape of it, it kind of looks a little bit dynamic, it would flip over. Well, it actually doesn't. It has a we developed the underground construction with a particular elements which are binded with the concrete mass. But I think now that also during the development this was simplified, and they just put the fresh concrete, install it in it, and then put the soil back, or the ground back, or the pavement. The thing is that this L-shaped element is pretty much longer that you can show, that shows on the photo here. It's twice as long as this goes into the ground. You can see here the dimensions of it. So if the base is 37 centimeters from the finished ground, it is another 40 centimeters in the ground.
Hello again. Can a bench move? I mean, was that ever considered in your concept or project? Because right now they are on the same spot, and you talk about that the material is very well even after years, that it mature, that it looks still fine and so on. Have you thought about this in your concept, that they were movable, that a new occasion just from day to day, from 1 hour to 1 hour could change? That's my question.
Yeah, actually on this photo, the larger cast that you see is actually a bench in whole, not just L-shaped bases, but it was made in concrete as a whole U shape. We proposed this in the competition phase. It was actually very heavy to move, but they could do it with the truck and all the equipment. It was also very stable. It could stand on its own with no problem. Yeah, this part of the design wasn't really developed further. Yeah, the municipality decided to have them in place, also to put them in that sort of environment and spaces that were sort of finished as a design, let's say children playgrounds and so on. But there is an option. There is an option that we have inside this system, that if ever there was a wish to have something movable, uh, they could do it, and it would still fit the family, the group. It would still come from the same idea. So yeah, it's possible.
I would just like to add that maybe even to connection to a previous question, there is also a system that doesn't go into the ground, that can be installed in the already made surface, like on the pavements. This is a little bit more uneasy to install with two sticks, yeah, actually,
Steel rods.
and steel rods, yeah, and some chemical bindings. This were the case, I think, here in Cankarjeva, because it's a nice solid ground. But yeah, it was not, still wasn't a movable bench. We were trying to find these dynamics more within the system. So if we put the bench in the raster, and that was actually like the starting principle, as you see here. This raster is 2 meters by 2 meters, so you can put either a long bench here, or sit here, sit here. So you can get some dynamics from this, but not moving it around. I think also the municipality wasn't seeking or looking for this kind of bench. They had this bench that was previously presented called Baroque and installed around the city center mainly. This was a park bench that is not intended to be installed in this historical part of the city center.
May I ask you, what is the price of the economics?
That is a good question, actually, because I think maybe even you would maybe know the price better than I do. The thing is that we had a lot of disputes about that is a really pricey bench because of the materials that are, of course, meant to last longer. This is not a rock concrete, this is artificial stone, and these are not like the pine wood plank laths or planks are large, Siberian large indeed. So it was around 700 euros, as I recall, in these previous phases. We always hope that during the optimization, the price would lower, even because it is designed in the way that nobody owns the license to do it. This is really important for us, that it can be produced by different craftsmen, depending on how much work maybe they have or what price they can offer to Ljubljana. And of course, on the other hand, this bench isn't like a sales product. It isn't up there to buy to install it in your garden, if I may say. It is intended for the public space, and of course Ljubljana is using it in that way. Yeah, this is maybe the answer that I have about it. Yeah.
Hi. I know this bench quite well from using it every day, but haven't had the chance to see the project as a whole, and I think it's quite brilliant. The modularity, and I particularly love that you can make different characters using the same element. The bench can have two different. How does it look, and what's the feeling? So I think it's really well done. My question would be, what are some of the features of anti-vandalism of this bench? Because I haven't seen yet the benches being broken, so this works as well. So I'm interested in that particular thing. And just a point, I think it's quite good that they're priced. It's public furniture, and I think it's proper that it's invested in quality and well thought out and designed furniture. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blaž.
Thank you, Blaž, for the question. Yeah, Wandelproof. I think already Mr. Polak explained this was one of the main aspects and main concerns of the municipality. And this was actually a really presented issue throughout the development phase, how durable it would be. And of course, when you design a project like this, when you try to optimize it, to add here as little material as possible and so on, you maybe never know. You have to test it in the public space. And throughout this test, it occurred that especially the base is nonetheless the form of this cantilever form acts pretty well in the public space. Of course, there are some occasions occurred that people were bumping with the car accidentally in it, and of course it flipped over. But in these cases, I don't know if the municipality have big complaints about it. Although we heard some stories, more not considering the base, but more considering the wooden parts. At the beginning, it looked really nice and new, and there was some stealing of these thefts of the wooden parts. So we developed a special mechanism underneath when it's bolted together. So they're using, I think they're still using the security bolt, so you cannot bolt it with like a normal tool from your garage to unscrew the bolt. And yeah, we were joking, okay, if the people are stealing the wooden parts, we cannot stand by the bench to guard them, but at least it's usable also when it's missing the wooden part.
One question more, sorry.
Sure.
But I remember that at the beginning we tried also to, instead of using wood, to use recycled materials. So you know that in Ljubljana is quite developed. Perhaps even we are one of the best places in recycling the plastics and other materials, glass. And at the beginning it was idea to make lower price and to make people aware of recyclation, recycled materials. So I don't know how ended this project, but I remember it was a company from Celje that they offered to use these materials only for special occasions, not in a common design.
They did 2 benches in Koseški Bajer, on the path in Koseški Bajer. They made 2 benches with the recycled, instead of the wooden seat, they made the seat out of this recycled plastic. From afar, it looks the same because it's gray. So when the wood gets old, then it's gray, and this one looks pretty much the same. The thing is that our design actually allows all of these variations, which why we think it's also good, because it can adapt to different materials, it can adapt to different colors, and still keep the form and this identity that it has. Also for certain designs that certain architects put this bench into their own design of parks and squares. They change the color of the terrazzo stone. They used it in white already. We like the basic one is in gray, and also in wood they could actually change the wood in any color if they wanted. So yeah, this design is actually open to all of these alterations. So yeah, why not if something comes along?
Okay, thank you very much for the questions and the attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the inspiring lecture, and of course to all of other speakers for their thoughts and for their time. So now we know where we are sitting in Ljubljana. Thank you. And since you're such an engaged public, I would like to invite all of you for a small snack and a glass of wine to celebrate this new bench in Ljubljana that we have. So thank you so much. And for the end, I would like also to join and to follow all of our activities within the project. We are working a lot with our students from Ljubljana, students from Aveiro, Aalborg and Oviedo, and we are collaborating together and bringing together all of the students the first time at Art Biennial in Venice this September, and the next year in Architecture Biennial again in Venice. So in September 2020. So you are invited to see us there, to visit the exhibition, of course. We will be there inside of the biennial and working, of course, on the topic of chair, but also on other topics. So thank you so much and stay please with us.